Dear students, today I am going to take a lesson about our national leaders. The freedom which we enjoy today is the efforts taken by our freedom fighters to free our country from the British rule. Our leaders underwent immense tortures which cannot be explained in words. Their satyagrahas, sacrifices, and tortures has yielded this freedom. Let's learn about their history right from their childhood till the last moment of their life. Before knowing about our leaders, let us see some of their photographs. Attracted by our father of nation, Gandhiji's policy, young men from Tamil Nadu were ready to sacrifice their body and soul for the cause of freedom. Among them were our hero, Kamran. He was poor and started his life as a weaver. Even at the verge of losing his life, he never let our flag fall down. He was holding it high during his last moment of life. Kumaran's parents were Nachimuthu Mudaliyar and Karupai Ammal. His birthplace is Sennimalai in Salem district. He was born on October 4th, 1904. He was the one who was called as Kodikatha Kumaran. Kumaran went to school till at the age of 10. Due to the family situation, he was not able to continue his studies further. The situation forced him to go for work. He used to weave sari. Weekly once, he will take the sari to Erode to give it to the owner of a textile shop, and he will collect the money and the thread required for the next week's work. One day, as usual, he went to Erode along with his brother and gave the saris. The owner paid him less, saying the quality was not good. Kumaran, who got furious, then decided not to give the completed products to the owner. Kumaran got married to Ramai Ammal in the year 1921. After marriage, he was drawn towards the freedom struggle. He joined in Desapatru Youth Sangam, which operated in Tirupur. He started to take part in political activities. As per the schedule drafted by Desapatru Youth Sangam, in the morning, Kumaran used to boycott in front of cracker shop, and in the evening, he used to boycott in front of wine shop. On January 10, 1932, Kumaran took part in civil disobedience procession. During procession, everyone marched shouting slogans. Kumaran was in the front row holding the flag. There was a police station on the same street where procession took place. Policemen started to attack Kumaran and others. Kumaran suffered a big blow on his head. Kumaran, who stood still without opposing, finally fell down unconsciously. Even at that moment, too, he was holding the flag high and never dropped it. Everyone who was injured was admitted in Tirupur Government Hospital. Kumaran was given treatment but never gained conscious. On January 11, 1932, that is, the next day, there was a little movement and he slowly spoke. He slowly opened his eyes and asked, "Won't we get independence?" It was his last words. Kumaran's body was covered with flag to respect his sacrifice.
Ma'am, will you please tell us about Bharati?
Let me show you some of the important pictures of these leaders. Okay then children, now tell me when and where Bharati was born.
Bharati was born in Ettapuram in the year 1882. His father's name was Chinnaswamy Iyer and mother Lakumi Ammal. His name was Subramanyam.
Very good, sit down. Now let's see about his life. Subramanyam was an expert in writing poems even at his young age. Apart from Tamil language, he was well versed in English, French, Sanskrit and Hindi. There was a Pandit in the school where Bharati was studying. One day, Pandit called him.
I heard that you are writing poems. Come on, write a poem comparing eagle and banana.
Immediately, Subramani wrote a poem. Pandit, who saw the poem, was struck.
From now on, you will be called as Bharati, Subramanya Bharati.
He embraced Subramani. From that day, he was called Bharati. During those days, there was child marriage. When Bharati was 15, he got married to Chellammai. He wrote many poems which induced patriotism in everyone's blood who heard or learned his poems. He wrote many essays in a daily called Sudesamitram. After a few years, he went to Pondicherry and started a newspaper called India. He took part in the freedom fight. Once, Gandhiji visited Tamil Nadu. During that time, Bharati was introduced to him as a patriotic poet of Tamil Nadu. Gandhiji embraced him and said that he does not belong to only Tamil Nadu but for the whole India. When he was in Triplicane, he had a practice of visiting Parthasarathi temple. There, every day, he will feed the elephant with coconut. One day, as usual, when he was feeding the elephant attacked and throwed him. After this incident, his health went down and led him to coma. On September 11th, 1921, he passed away very peacefully. Even though he's not physically with us, he lives in our hearts through his poems. Rahul, come on, can you sing one of his songs?
அச்சமில்லை அச்சமில்லை அச்சமென்பதில்லையே உச்சி மீது வானிடிந்து வீழுகின்ற போதிலும் அச்சமில்லை அச்சமில்லை அச்சமென்பதில்லையே.
Oh, that's the reason you're not scared of anyone, I suppose.
Now let's learn about the life of Subramanya Siva. Before knowing about our leaders, let us see some of their photographs. Any one of you know about him?
We have heard about him, but not in detail.
Okay, listen. Subramanya Sivam popularly called as Subramanyam Seba, was born on 4/10/1884. His birthplace is Vattalagundu near Madurai. He was the son of Rajamayar and Nagalakshmi Ammal. After completing his studies, he joined as clerk in police department because of the family burden, but he did not like the job. So the very next day, he resigned his job. This was his first and the last job. He got married to Meenakshi Ammal in 1899. In 1906, an orator named Davur Khan Chandravarma, who belonged to Arya Samaj, delivered a speech in Trivandrum. Subramanyam Siva heard the speech. As he was listening, his freedom thought, which was in a corner of his mind, started to aggravate. Travancore province, which opposed this, ordered Shiva to leave the province immediately. He started to travel to different places and canvassed against the British rule. Siva was an excellent orator. Younger generation who heard Siva's speech took part in freedom struggle and dedicated themselves. During this time, Siva earned the friendship of VOC. At the same time, Mahakavi Bharati visited Nellai. Bharati too became a friend of Siva. The friendship of these three has an important place in the history of freedom struggle. They were even addressed as Tamil Nadu Trinity. Both Siva and VOC worked together. Because of their activities, the Nellai district had become a base for freedom struggle. British officers, who were afraid of their growing popularity, charged them with various crimes and gave imprisonment. Later, they appealed again and their punishment were reduced. For Siva, they reduced the imprisonment period to 6 years from 10 years. Siva was released on 2/11/1912. After the release, he settled in Chennai. He started to publish his own weekly magazine called Prabanjamitran and monthly magazine called Jnanabanu. He traveled to many places and induced the patriotic feeling among people. He never organized public meetings. Instead, he made speeches where there was a crowd. Again in 1919, he started another magazine called India Desandri. During his lifetime, he took part in almost all the conference and struggle movement. Wherever Siva went, he delivered his speech. He was a very courageous man. Siva's speech created mutiny among the people. Britishers who learned this tried to subdue him, and in 1921 he was given 2 years rigorous imprisonment. Because of the tortured life in prison, he suffered from leprosy. British government denied the right to travel in the train, but Siva didn't lose his hope. He traveled by walk or by cart to canvass against the British rule and their atrocity. Siva, who treated his motherland as God, decided to build a temple for Bharat Mata. For that, he laid a stone in his ashram on 23/1/1923. His health was in very bad condition as he was continuously taking part in freedom struggle without any break, ignoring his disease. Day by day, his health deteriorated. He reached his ashram in Paparapati on 22/7/1925 with the help of his disciple Sundara Bharati. youngsters who were willing to do anything for Siva, and rich persons who were ready to give anything assembled in the ashram. The very next day, that is, on 23/7/1925, Thursday, early morning 5 o'clock, he closed his eyes at the age of 41. Siva, who lived for 40 years, achieved so much. Siva, who fought against the British rule, left the earthly life with many dreams.
Ma'am, can you also tell us about VOC?
He was also called as Kapalotiya Tamilan.
You are right. Do you know anything about him?
We know that he was the first Tamilan to set afloat a fleet. Apart from that,
That's okay. Just sit down. I'll tell you. He was a turbulent youth interested in horse riding, swimming, silambam, fencing, wrestling, archery, and shooting.
my God, he knows so much.
Yes, he was born in Ottapidaram in Tirunelveli district in the year 1872. His father, grandfather, paternal uncle were all lawyers. Chidambaram went to a school in Ottapidaram. In those days, the boys used to sit before teacher's house and learn to write in the sand spread on the ground. As a youngster, Chidambaram was a turbulent person. This annoyed his father and he used to beat him often. On one occasion, unable to bear the beatings, he ran away from his house to Madurai. He shaved his head and wandered about for 10 days. By the time his father came to know of his presence and brought him back home. He continued his studies and completed it. He became a lawyer too. He went to Tuticorin to practice law. There, he slowly entered politics and took part in freedom fight. In Tuticorin port, only British concern was operating the daily service and the Indians were denied the rights to use ships for transportation. Chidambaram, with his friends, decided to buy an own ship. So he went to North India. After few months, he returned to Tuticorin with 2 ships. From the ship, he came out with his head high. The people gathered and cheered in joy. British government was afraid of him because he slowly was becoming an extremist leader. One day, an officer called him and said,
If you retreat from the shipping company, we'll pay you 2 lakhs.
Chidambaram denied for this, so they tried in many ways and finally arrested Chidambaram and awarded life imprisonment. In prison, he was made to work hard and was punished severely. A person who dedicated his life for the freedom passed away in November 1936.
He was also called as Chekkarutha Chemmal.
Yes. Let me show you some of the important pictures of these leaders. Okay then students, be ready for a test. Tomorrow, I will conduct a test on the topic you learned today.
Oh no!
Who is called the first freedom fighter? Do anyone of you know?
Veerapandiya Kattabomman?
Right answer. Be confident. Before knowing about Veerapandiya Kattabomman, let us see some photographs. Veerapandiya Kattabomman was the chieftain of Panchalankuruchi. He had two brothers called Oomadurai and Kumarasamy. It was the period when Tamil Nadu was under the control of Arcot Nawab. Nawab had borrowed a huge sum of amount from Britishers. Since he was not able to repay the loan, he gave the rights to the Britishers to collect the tax on behalf of him.
Oh, that's how they started to rule us?
Yes, all the chieftains paid the tax to Britishers except Kattabomman. He opposed Britishers. They tried many ways to collect the tax from Kattabomman, but in vain. During that time, Jackson was appointed as collector. In 18th August 1798, Jackson visited Palayam Kottai. He wrote a letter to Kattabomman. Since the letter was written in a cordial way, Kattabomman decided to visit Jackson. Since Jackson was a tricky person, he made Kattabomman to run hither and thither to meet him. Finally, they met at Ramanathapuram. Jackson rudely ordered Kattabomman to pay the tax and they attempted to arrest him too. But Kattabomman managed to escape. Britishers were very furious, but they subdued themselves since Kattabomman was very powerful and brave. In 1799, Britishers attacked Panchalankuruchi. Kattabomman lost the battle as they could not stand before the modern cannon. Kattabomman and Oomadurai escaped.
Rupees 1 lakh will be awarded to the person who captures Kattabomman, dead or alive.
Ettappa Nayakan was the one who was responsible for the arrest of Kattabomman. He deceived Kattabomman, saying he will give the place to hide. Britishers arrested Kattabomman. In 1799, October 16th, he was hanged in a public place in Kayatharu.
Why they punished him in public?
Reason for that is, the Britishers felt that the punishment given to Kattabomman should be a lesson to everyone. We got our independence by way of, can anybody tell me?
Non-violence?
Yes. Though all our leaders fought in a non-violence way, there were few extremists too, who took part in struggle. One among them was Vanchinathan. Since Vanchinathan's lifespan was short, we have only one of his portrait. His birthplace was Sengottai near the border of Kerala. He did his primary education in Sengottai and completed his BA in Trivandrum. He was married at the age of 23. He was very patriotic and believed in extremism. He, along with his friends, protested against Britishers. An incident which took place in Maniachi Junction in 1911 was a turning point in the history of freedom struggle. Officer Ash was responsible for the death of 4 men in an agitation that took place in 1908. Apart from that, Ash was responsible for the rigorous imprisonment of Subramanyam Seba and VOC. Vanchinathan decided to take revenge for the actions of Ash. Mr. Ash planned to trip to Kodaikanal. Vanchinathan, along with friends, travelled in the second class in the same train in which Ash was traveling. Train stopped in Maniachi Junction. Vanchinathan alighted from his compartment and got into first-class compartment in which Ash was accommodated.
Hey, who are you, man?
Vanchinathan, without uttering a word, took out the gun and killed the officer Ash. Immediately, he moved from the place. Policemen who came there hearing the gunshot looked out for the killer in all the places. Vanchinathan knew that his friends too will be arrested if he gets arrested. To avoid that, he shot himself and fell dead. A police who came in search of him saw his lifeless body and searched his pockets. There was a letter in his pocket. In that, he had fiercely commented about the Britishers. India should become independent country was another sentence written in that letter. He has sacrificed his life, body and soul for the sake of our country. Such a person can very well be called as a great warrior.